I'd like to tell you about a case study of a gentleman who was living alone. He was an elderly gentleman and he received assistance with daily tasks with his personal care. He'd had a series of health problems which left him struggling to look after himself and to live independently. A direct payments advisor had referred him to the advocacy service after visiting him to discuss setting up an individual budget. He'd been assessed as needing to contribute a certain amount towards the cost of his care, in this case over £30 a week. He was having great difficulty understanding why that should be, what an individual budget was and whether or not it was for him. His social worker had drawn up a care plan, a support plan, but he wasn't happy with it. He didn't think that it reflected his needs. The advocate's first contact with the gentleman was in company with the social worker, who confessed to not having enough knowledge of individual budgets and wanted to listen to a fuller explanation from the advocate to the gentleman. She wanted to understand how the money could actually be used. The advocate used this time to find out from the gentleman a bit more about what his care needs actually were, had him describe his situation, and asked him to outline the range of help and options he felt would be suitable for him. She had him explain the formal help that he had, like the care agency coming in once a week, but also the informal support he had from family and friends. He wanted to lead the life that suited him, and it was important to him that all of his needs were taken into account. It became clear from this discussion that he had several informal carers who came in as well as the care agency, and this had been overlooked in the original support plan. He also felt comfortable only with one person who came in to provide him help with his personal care. So it was quite important to him that the person providing any support to him was this one person with whom he had an empathy and with whom he got on well. The advocate made a point of reviewing his disability-related expenditure. When this was completed, there was a discussion with the council who reviewed the original decision about how much he needed to contribute, and from previously having to contribute over £30 a week, this was reduced to £8.70 a week, a significant reduction. This enabled him to move on to consider what help he needed, the practical support he needed to live a full and independent life, and he wanted to employ the person who at present took care of his personal needs because this was the person he felt familiar and happy with. The social worker at this point actually resisted this option because she felt that she had less control over his decision making and was unhappy about it. She felt that by using a registered care provider, she could then keep tabs on how he was spending his money. The advocate explained to the social worker that actually this was not within the social worker's remit and it was for the individual to decide who and how he spent his money. Finally, the social worker agreed to this. The advocate played a vital role by explaining more fully than anyone else had managed to the options open to the gentleman and assisted him to take stock of his present situation and his projected future spending in relation to his personal situation. In turn, this gave him greater confidence that an individual budget was the route for him. Previously, he had resisted all options relating to a personal budget. She supported him in the meetings that he attended. Those meetings he had previously found unequal, unsatisfactory, and actually also inaccurate. At the end of the process, the gentleman had developed a new support plan that had enabled him to take charge of his own situation. These last words are his. "I don't know what I would have done without her. She's the only one who seemed to speak my language, and she made sure that they knew what I wanted."